What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hopsgeeknews, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and you know it. We typically feature a beer of the week. Now, first things first, I am Matt. With me, as always, is Lauren, and today's episode is 219, where we are going to dive into some more Star Wars, the history of the Sith. This week, we're going to talk all about the Sith, and man, I can't wait because a lot of really cool things. We're going to talk about the history and maybe some notable Sith acolytes, if you will, kind of getting you ready for the show, The Acolyte, coming out in a couple weeks on June 4th with Disney Plus. It's going to give you a little background taking place in the High Republic. So that's where some of this comes from. But of course, Hopsgeeknews on every podcasting platform, on every social media platform. That is how you can find us each and every week, delivering the best that we can do. And then, of course, like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff, because especially on YouTube or even on our Facebook page we have, or Twitter, because those are the three places that we like to go live each and every week with our Cantina Hour, which shout out to our Patreons, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do things like our Cantina Hour, or we're in the process of getting some stickers made, things of that nature. So thank you guys for supporting the show, patreon.com/HopsGeekNews. Now, Memorial Day today, when this episode airs, we are going to be sitting down to do Madam Web with our Patreons. So if you want to get on that action, all you got to do is subscribe to that, sign up for as low as $1. I feel like a cheapskate sitting here being like, give us your money. It's like Joel Olstein, but give it to the Church of the Sith. I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little weird. Anyways, my beer of the week is a Liche Raspberry Sour from Southern Grist Brewing Company out of Nashville, Tennessee. It is a sour ale brewed with lactose, raspberry puree, and lychee puree. It comes in at 5.4%. The can was red. My beer fridge is surprisingly low, man. I don't know. It's called Hill, actually. Haha. It's like one of those weird, like, if you can see the number in this, your eyes are this good kind of things that old ladies put on Facebook. I didn't realize that until now, but yeah, man.
Solid brewery.
Oh, I love Southern Grist.
Yeah.
We've been there actually.
Yeah,
together
that was the first one we did in Nashville.
It is delicious. So that's what I'm drinking, Lauren, because it's red. Like I said, I got the Roosevelt's. It's a trap shirt. By all means, man, go check out roosevelts.com. They do 25% military discount, first responder boxes. They do deployment boxes. When I deploy, dude, you know damn well I'm going to be hitting them up for one of those, and a lot of good stuff over there. So get your Star Wars merch there. They don't pay us anything to say that. I just, one day maybe. But Lauren, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm going to peep my fit real quick. This is my Boba Fett
peep the fit
that I got for $3 at a thrift store called Out of the Closet, which always has amazing stuff. One of the best things about going to thrift stores in Orlando is you always find Disney stuff. So
Out of the Closet. That's what my uncle is.
Well, it's an amazing, actually, it's like right across the street from 1010 Brewing. It's right on that Barley Row. It's my daughter's favorite thrift store. And what they do, like, free HIV testing and stuff. So it's like a non-profit. I don't know if it's a full-on nonprofit, but I know they do a lot of good for the community as well. But they always have, I mean,
$3. Wow.
Yeah. Any thrift store in Orlando has awesome Disney stuff. I got 2 popcorn buckets at the little kid thrift store. Once
Why did you take me thrifting in Orlando when I was there? Like, what the hell?
Next time you're here, we can go to the outlet. There's also
like, I'm a little betrayed.
Disney like gives all their stuff that they have found. Like, you lost your sunglasses on It's a Small World and you didn't claim them. They're going to this thrift store, and you can go buy like Prada sunglasses for $5 because somebody looked over the boat and they dropped in the water.
Did you like get my entire family's, Disney cruise outfit for each night at the go take
probably
pictures.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lauren, find us some things for each night and send some pictures, and I'll just Venmo you the money back.
Well, they had the other day one that was like Princess Leia, and I think it would have fit me, but it was a very thick material, and then it had like a hood and it had like the buns, and I was like, I don't know that I would wear this.
So cool. Yeah, it's like, when do you, especially in Florida, like, when do you wear that kind of deal? When it's always hot as balls there. So,
but I mean, although I do have a Loki dress for the cruise that's the same material that has a hood.
Dang, I gotta buy my stuff for the cruise. I haven't done that yet.
But Erica and I did pick shirts. I need to buy them and I need to send them to you. So what I'm drinking?
Send them to me, please. No, this reminds me. There's in Alabama, they have something like this, except for it's nothing Disney. It's all the lost luggage from airlines. Oh. Apparently, there's a place in like Alabama where you can go and they have all the lost luggage from airlines. I don't know why I'm struggling with that word tonight.
That's ridiculous.
You can like pick through their shit. I don't know. It's kind of strange.
Like, it isn't lost. They messed up. It wasn't like somebody like was like, whoop, I dropped my sunglasses.
Unless you died on the flight. I don't know.
Right? It's like the stuff from Lost.
What does it just fall out of a plane? People pick it up like, oh yeah, let me go donate to Mobile, Alabama or something.
That's crazy. I will say, if you ever do lose anything at Disney, file a report, and if they do find it, they will mail it to you. I actually lost a magic band one time, didn't even file a report, and they mailed it to me because they could just scan it and see whose it was
That's cool.
but so my beer is very much so on point. It is called Rule of Two. It is
Oh,
Brewing. It is a milk stout, and I have it in my little Vader glass. However, I am a jackass, and this has been in the back of my fridge for 2 years. This was released on May the
oh,
4th.
how's it taste?
It tastes like a milk stout. It's very sweet.
Well,
However,
stouts you can age for like ever.
yeah, but it was in a crowler, so I should not have aged
Ah,
it. It's still pretty good. It's very sweet. So for me, milk stouts are not really something I really order. It's like I will take a taster of
I
it, but
don't
not
either
the
too
whole
much.
pint.
They're kind of like too thick for me.
Well, this isn't super
I also
thick.
don't
I don't
really
know if
like
it's
milk.
because I aged it. It does have lactose in it,
You
though.
just wait. The rule of two means you're going to be growing a second head soon from all the bacteria that grew for the last 2 years.
It's been in the fridge.
I know. Oh, that's
I
good.
will probably have something else by the time we get to our main segment, though.
It's fair.
But that is what I'm drinking. Rock Pit, almost every year they do a May the 4th beer release. A lot of times they do it with Casey or Jamal, which is Geeks and Beer, or the Hop Circles.
Man,
So.
I need to get in with a brewery around here and do that, man. Telling you what are we doing?
Yeah, you
That's
can
awesome.
do that with Empire.
Yeah, man. I haven't, Boise was great because I got in with the breweries. They were awesome, made friends. Virginia's a bit different, a little harder. But
Probably because
man,
it's not a small town.
yeah.
Because you
Speaking
yell
though,
at people at trivia.
that's true. Well, there is a Star Wars trivia next week at Smart Mouth, and I'm gonna go for Redemption.
Smart Mouth has good beer.
They do. I do want to take you there when you come. So when you're listening to this, Lauren's actually coming through Virginia this coming week. So you're going to find our socials probably filled with a bunch of beer adventures, all that kind of good stuff. Cause I'm going to take her through Norfolk and Richmond and just have a grand old time, man. But anyways, if you are new to the show, we like to talk about what we've been reading or watching and talk about the news as well. So let's go into what we've been reading or watching. Lauren, why don't you kick us off?
So my comic book review this week for Nerd Initiative was Union Jack the Ripper. So if Union Jack sounds familiar, he is a Howling Commando. However, this is a new person has taken the mantle, and they are fighting vampires. This is a lot of fun. And if you've seen Blood Hunt on any Marvel comics, there's a whole bunch of comics going on right now. So everyone all around the world is fighting vampires. The art, I feel like, I don't want to say was the best part of the story because obviously the art and the story always complement each other. But the art, like, it started out and I'm like, okay, this looks like, basic comic book art, nothing special. And then all of a sudden the vampires showed up, and the vampires are very basic, but terrifying at the same time.
Right.
And it was super creepy. And then like the blood like it's a parental advisory, but it's really good. If you like any of the supernatural stuff in the Marvel universe, definitely recommend checking out Blood Hunt and Union Jack the Ripper specifically. You want to talk your Nerd Initiative, and then I will discuss what I've been watching?
Of course. So nerdinitiative.com this week, I dropped a few reviews. So 2 DC and 2 non-DC So first and foremost, Batman First Night issue 3 wraps up the 3-issue story of Batman in 1938. This is a kind of an alternate take. There is no Alfred. Bruce Wayne is on his own, and it's a really good story. It has like the purple gloves, the classic suit, the really long pointed ears of Batman fighting someone known as the Voice. He's trying to track him down. He's mutating. Turns out these prisoners in Blackgate who are being electrocuted within an inch of their life. Then he brings them back. They mutate in like these creatures. And so he's kind of battling that alongside Commissioner Gordon. It's actually there's a really like spoiler. He is involved with a woman in this storyline. She's a movie actress. And it's actually really cool because she walks in as he's standing there in half the suit and discovers he's Batman. And she's just like, shows empathy towards him, the person. And in this story, like, he's very new starting out. Commissioner Gordon had given him a gun, and she kind of was like, Bruce, like, what are you doing with these guns? And he was like, Gordon said it was for my protection. And because of her compassion, empathy, she wakes up and all the guns are out of the house. But Bruce isn't stopping Batman by no means. He's still going to do his crusade. But that's kind of like his origin story into stopping guns. Dan Jurgens, Mike Spicer, Mike Perkins, all on the book. Really worthwhile. Cannot recommend enough. I also did Godzilla versus Justice League versus Kong, the final issue number 7.
A lot going on.
Yeah, I got a lot of finales this week, I guess. There's only 2 finales. There's not really a lot, but DC-wise, a couple finales. This was awesome, man. Batman is in a Mecha Batman suit fighting Mecha Godzilla. It was spoiled about a month ago from DC for some reason, but they also had King Kong got a Green Lantern ring, which is pretty freaking cool. Yeah, it was awesome. He gets a lantern ring. Godzilla and Superman have like this really cool entrance scene side by
King
side.
Kong has one. Does he like imagine a giant banana or something?
Well, what's his name? Why am I blanking right now? I feel like I should hand over my nerd card. It's Guy Gardner is dead. He dies, and his lantern ring actually comes off of him and goes to Kong. And so Kong wields the lantern power, which DC spoiled. Kong is getting a lantern ring, which kind of sucks because for Brian Buccellato, who has been really proud of this moment in this comic book, and essentially if they didn't do that, man, it would have been a really big moment in this comic because it is filled with
Right.
so many like beautiful, big one-shot panels of like Batman and the squad fighting, and then Godzilla and Superman side by side coming into the fray. It's so damn good. Like the colors and the art, man, it is so damn good. And then aside from that, Image and Ghost Machine released Rook Exodus issue number 2. Man, this comic book is very well drawn. Again, like the creatures, the animals on planet Exodus. There's
So
bears. Somebody's
deep.
controlling bears now. Yeah, it's great. Like the way that we're kind of getting more story. Like the planet turns out maybe it is salvageable. Who knows? We get another
Mm.
character. Dire Wolf is introduced this week. So Jeff Johns, Jason Fabik, Rob Lay, Brad Anderson, all work in this book. Really good. And then White Boat is Distillery Media. Scott Snyder and Francesco Francavella. I can't pronounce last name. It's very hard. He's one of the best in the game too. It's Francavalla. God damn it. Anyways, yes, it's from Distillery. It's kind of like a mystery. So it's taking place where Lee, a tragic accident happens. He's from a family who loves to be on boats. Tragic accident happens. His brother dies. That you find out in the first 2 pages. So really, I guess it's not that much of a spoiler. And then somehow there's a mysterious man 30 years later says, "Hey, come to this boat with us." He goes to the boat and it turns into like this maze, this never ending maze because there's more to the boat than meets the eye. It's kind of like a thriller. I guess there's going to be a lot going into this book, but Scott Snyder did it, man. He's excellent at weaving these mystery tales. Francesco is really good at there's like 3 different parts of this book. One's about the ocean and how well he draws the ocean, and then on the boat, and then on an island. So that's pretty much what I've been reading this week from Nerd Initiative. So why don't you go ahead and let us know what you've been watching?
So I did finish the Daryl Dixon show, and I just wanted to talk about for
Oh
any
boy.
Walking Dead fans. If you didn't make it through the show, I feel like you can still watch these shows. And here is what I will tell you: it's worth it to buy the AMC Plus to get to watch all 3 shows. Rick and Michonne that show's fantastic. The Ones Who Lived. I know I talked about it a few weeks ago. That one is 100% worth watching. Highly recommend
Here comes the
watching
other.
it.
I feel like there's a but. Daryl Dixon was not coming.
Daryl Dixon, I think, was better than the Negan and Maggie show. So what I will say, Negan and Maggie show, it's like they don't know what they're doing with Negan. Are they like try to make him sympathetic, and then he shows more of like his true evil colors. And obviously, what he did to Maggie is not really redeemable. You can say like, "Oh, I forgive you" in a way that she needs to move on kind of
Bashed
way,
my
but
baby's dad's brains in.
right while she thought she was miscarrying. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that and obviously every time she sees him, she still thinks of that. And in the show, they actually play into that. Like she keeps having like they kept showing Glenn with his freaking eye popping out, and I kept having to look away. But the Daryl Dixon show, I actually did enjoy it. I thought it was good. So he ends up in France. I won't say how they do explain it. But what's funny is like he ends up coming across these nuns, and at first it's kind of cheesy, and he's like,
All
"What are you
right.
guys, killer nuns?" And the next thing I know, I swear to goodness, I saw a nun holding an angel blade like from Supernatural. And
No
then
way.
another point, I saw
Well, they
somebody
were
had
both
this.
in Supernatural, so that makes sense.
Well, no, not the Negan and Maggie show, the one with Daryl. So Daryl was not
Oh,
in
oh, oh,
Supernatural.
oh, my bad. We crossed through. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
so we're
Yeah.
on Daryl Dixon now, which Daryl Dixon I liked much more than I liked. I think it's called Dead City. But the nun thing doesn't last long. But it's Daryl Dixon's very religious. It has a lot of religious kind of undertones and stuff. I will leave it at that. Obviously, Daryl's not religious, but it's kind of
Oh,
funny
I
that
was like,
they.
yeah, that's surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not at all. But they poke fun at Americans because at one point they're trying to pretend that Daryl, like they're trying to convince somebody that Daryl is a priest. but he's from America, and they're like, he's been here all these years and he still doesn't speak French, and they're like, Americans, like, what are you gonna do? And they're like, oh yes, Americans.
Fair
So they
point.
make fun of Americans a little bit there. And it is a good show. It's very, Daryl Dixon's being Daryl Dixon. There was an end credit scene that is very clear they're going to do another season, which I will watch the next season. The one thing I will say about this particularly, and a little bit of the Negan and Maggie show, one of the things that's kind of cool is because it takes place in Paris and New York City, you get to see a lot of these big things destroyed in the apocalypse. So that's kind of cool.
This is Lauren coming back to the Daryl Dixon show.
Oh, jeez. Is anybody just listening? Jar Jar Binks poking his head around the corner. But no, I enjoyed the Daryl Dixon show. I thought it was good. And at first I was like, Daryl's the only person I'm really going to know in this. So, you always hate when they introduce new characters and you're like forced to have to.
How does he get to France?
You got to watch the show.
I'm not going to watch the show.
I'll tell you off camera, but I don't want to ruin it.
Okay, that's fair. I'll get that. If
they don't even like.
If our 3 listeners out there want to watch it, go watch it, please.
I forgot what I was going to say now about Daryl.
Daryl still has a personality of a cardboard box.
A little bit, yeah, and he still needs a bath.
Oh yeah,
he still needs a haircut. I know he is
still got that ugly mullet that he's been rocking for 30 years. Norman Reedus does, and Norman Reedus, like, he's always had that. Like, no offense to him, he's just always kind of had that guy. Like, he's the dude who sells you drugs who doesn't shower kind of look about him, and just even when he goes back to Boondock Saints.
Carol even tells him at one point, like, take a shower. Like, when they get to Alexandria, I remember she's like, you need to shower.
I don't want to shower. All right.
But yeah, and it looks like they might be tying some of these in together in the future. There were some things going on.
They already did that once.
Growing and hopefully bringing back the universe. I don't know. Who knows if Rick will show up again either. So I don't know. I don't remember what else the other thing was I was going to say, but it's worth watching. I liked it.
All right. You know what? You guys make your own opinions. All right. Make your own opinions, because here I watched a movie that a lot of people said weren't very good. And speaking of franchises that will never die, I watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire this weekend. Honestly, man, I love this franchise. I love the cheesiness of it. I love like the family aspect of it. Cause me, baby. Speaking of which, real quick, never mind. I'll get to that in a second. I went to
a Corona.
I will get to that in a second. But this movie is great. Honestly, it was kind of weird that like Finn Wolfhard was hardly ever even seen or had a line in this movie.
He was in it enough, I felt like.
This movie, obviously, so like Ghostbusters Afterlife was about him, whereas this one is more about his sister.
Yeah.
So I guess I get it. It felt like they were trying to do like that weird love subplot with the ghost girl that just kind of
100%, yeah.
But it's like they couldn't commit to it for some reason.
Well, she was dead. What were they supposed to do?
She found a way to become a ghost. Okay, that's all I have to say. But like they just kind of like
permanently.
I know, but still, like, whatever. But overall though, man, I thought this movie, I love how the old cast, like Dan Aykroyd was very prominent in this, kind of being like that mentor. Paul Rudd, I thought, brought the heart to this movie. Could have done without the mom. She's just kind of there. But it's like, I love seeing the car running through New York City. Winston got his time to shine in this one because he wasn't in the last one. Bill Murray was barely in this one, which I thought was fine. And then they continued to just like, they brought, what's her name back for this with the glasses?
Oh, yeah. We got one.
Yeah. And then, the mayor has looked the same since the 80s too, which is kind of
really
funny.
has.
That guy has never aged. Yeah, same personality. And then who I want them to bring back is Rick Moranis' character one day. If they like in the next movie they do, like, just give him like a quick scene.
And Bill Murray married Sigourney Weaver, and they have a kid together, and that's never mentioned.
Oh yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I never even thought about that.
In the second one, or the first one, the baby's at the end of one of them. He's wearing Pooh Bear pajamas. I think it's the second one.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that because I was like, "Where's Sigourney Weaver and all this?" And they don't even talk about her. But he comes back to the firehouse, man. It was all overall though. I enjoyed the movie. When it comes to this franchise, nostalgia glasses, whatever you want to call it. I know people had their issues with it, but it's got a lot of heart. It's fun. Ghostbusters is a cheesy franchise. At its core, it is a cheesy franchise. They turned a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man into a giant ghost, and they blew it up in New York City. What more do you want? So I really enjoyed it. I did go do something though. I went to Winston-Salem this past weekend where I went to a really cool brewery, South End Brewing in Greensboro, North Carolina. Great beer. And then I went to Incendiary Brewing in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where they had Fast and Furious playing on the TV. So technically I
Oh,
watched
that's
Fast
where,
and Furious while I drank a couple beers
but
because
not
then
Coronas.
no. I had a really good stout and a really good IPA from there. They also had this one called like the Jedi, but it's like a hoppy pilsner. And you know me, I don't like pilsners, so I didn't drink it. But their beer is wicked good. They have 3 locations, and one is in Raleigh, one's in Winston-Salem. I forget where the other one is. However, I went to go see Bill Burr. The first time I've been dying to go see Bill Burr, one of my favorite comedians, probably my favorite comedian because I'm not really big into the comedic scene, although I've always wanted to do stand-up comedy. And for some reason, like there was a bad storm that rolled through, it knocked the power out because somebody hit a light pole. So it took us an hour to go 7 minutes to get into this parking lot. And
Oh,
luckily the
no.
power was out because the fact that the show started 45 minutes late. If it had started on time, we would have missed most of the show. But they served like good beers. I had a couple beer, like local beers, IPAs for $11, like tall boy cans for $11, which is sick.
Way
I was
cheaper
like,
than
hell yeah. If I go to the
yeah.
Garden in Boston, dude, a freaking Boston lager is
Like
$18.
$22, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like,
And
hell
then
yeah.
they want
Got
you to
2 of
tip
these bad
too.
boys. And our seats were right close to the right by the stage. Surprising. Like Carrie got wicked good seats. Like it was so awesome. And Bill Burr was hilarious. Joe Bartnick opened up, man. I had never heard him before. He was great. They definitely like, it was great just hearing them. Like they towed the line, but some of the jokes you're like, oh my God, like they said that.
Bill
Uh,
Burr does that.
yeah, I love him, man.
I
He's like
love
this
him too.
angry
He's funny.
Bostonian guy who hasn't lived in Boston for like 30 years, but he's still that old angry Boston man I know and love at his core, which reminds me so much of home.
But I feel like he's one of those that like he makes fun of things that are like fucked up and like he will toe the line, but he's still usually on the side of like
Okay,
right.
so
It's
yeah,
kind of like Family Guy. He makes fun of what's wrong with society, but and he calls himself out for being angry. And I love when he talks about like his wife because he's always like, okay, she was right. I have anger issues.
oh my God, the best joke was like, he was like, I've been sad lately, I have depression because I never resolved things as a childhood and all this. And my wife came in and I kind of told her and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. And then she left. And he was like, wait, you can do that? All these years I've been having to sit there and listen to my wife tell me about how sad she is. And I pretended to care and you can just leave. I was like, bro, that felt so close to home. I was like, yeah. And but he called out like both extreme sides of any sort of topic, and the crowd, man, I didn't realize, like I was at the crowd and I was like kind of looking around, and it turned out the crowd was like all basically 95% of this crowd is old white people. And I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, those old white people that kind of dress like they're young still, they get in their little skinny jeans and all those.
Yeah, I wear skinny
No, no, no,
jeans.
no, no. I'm talking about like 65-year-old white woman who get like they're trying to dress, they're still in their 20s or something. Like that is a lot of the crowd. And I looked around and I was like, sweet baby Jesus, Italian men in their fancy gaudy shirts. And I was like, oh God, when did I become a part of this crowd? I'm usually like the ones hanging out with the hip, cool young kids. And I'm out here with the old, aging, bald white men. What the fuck?
With the
It was
boomers.
a culture shock for me, but the show was great. Awesome.
It's
Loved
also
the
where you
show.
saw it too. That'll
Yeah.
impact the
Yeah.
audience. I feel like Bill Burr really is like a lot of people listen to him of
Oh
many
yeah.
different races and sexes and everything because he makes fun of everybody. He's an equal opportunist.
He's just so awesome. I seriously love him so much, but that's my long-winded rant about what I've been watching. And let's roll into some news real quick. First things, a Vision series. Paul Bettany's coming back to play Vision. If you remember in WandaVision, he turned to
Where the
White
hell
Vision.
is White Vision?
He said,
Out
all right,
there?
I'm out. Bye. It's going to
He's like,
release
wait,
in
I'm feeling something, remembering something.
I request elaboration. All right, bye. And just dipped. That's going to be coming out in 2026.
That's
Maybe has to
exciting.
play into some Tom King's run that he did back in 2015. Maybe Terry Matalas will direct. He did Star Trek Picard, which a lot of people raved about. I'm not a Trekkie, didn't
I've
watch
heard a
it.
lot of people talk about it. Yeah.
A lot of people loved it. And then another thing, man, the great streaming wars. We're here. One big circle time is as Comcast will launch Stream Saver, which will be a Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV bundle that starts at $15 a month. and I give that about 30 days before they jack the price up to like $25 a month or something like that. I got a text today saying T-Mobile is going to jack every line I have up by $5 a month.
Every line you have? That's
the
we
kids
have
have
T-Mobile
lines.
Go.
Yeah. I originally got
Lovely.
2 extra lines. Yeah, whatever. These sons of bitches, it's like when you go to the grocery store and they're like, is this amount okay? Do I have a choice?
Right.
Do I have a choice here? And then they just hit you up. Hey, we're raising $5 extra a month. So $20 extra. I got these 2 extra lines because it was supposed to be cheaper than what I was paying.
I know. They always tell you that. And that's how your 10-year-old ends up with a phone.
Well, both kids have an iPad, and that's what they do. So they can text me, FaceTime, all that kind of stuff, especially when I'm gone. Joke's on me.
Yeah.
Not like they don't ever. Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. It'll be a lifesaver on the plane. So remind me of that in July. Now, speaking of something else nobody asked for, 2 more Pirates of the Caribbean movies are coming out. Apparently,
Johnny Depp going to be in them?
Yeah, no, he's not. So the first one is going to be a reboot by Jeff Nathanson. We're rebooting the franchise. And then there's going to be a spinoff featuring Margot Robbie, because Margot Robbie is the only working actress in Hollywood right now. So you got to get her while she's hot. Well, she is very hot, but you got to get her right in anything and everything. So yeah, we don't need her. We don't need her. We don't need to reboot these franchise, whatever.
I feel like I get confused. There's so many Pirates ones. They all blend together.
Yeah. Anything past like the first one, I don't care about anyways.
They'll still make money. So
true. And very true. This next one, I think, was confirmed not true by Megan, that Sadie Sink from Stranger Things will play Aloy in Horizon's Netflix series. I thought that was cool, but Megan rained on my parade. So she was right though. Acolyte series is premiering each week at 9 p.m. beginning June 4th on Disney Plus. Disney, my screener still haven't hit. Where you at, baby? But that's all the news that I have. What do you have?
So Michael Leslie is set to write the X-Men film script. So we're actually starting to get that going. I like this piece of news on here. I've never seen a single episode of Walker, but Walker has been canceled at the CW.
Sorry, Jerry.
Jerry.
Jera. I was going to say Jared Padalecki, but then I second guessed myself on what his last name was. And then I was like, Jared.
They even say it in the show. He's something called a Padalecki.
Yeah. See?
So Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo are actually teaming up to create a Wolverine Revenge comic. It will be a 5-issue limited series coming out this August. Marvel is announcing stuff left and right.
They have a lot of big things coming out in August, dude. Like Storm has a series. Like all the big X-Men are getting their own series starting in August. A lot of good stuff.
I think they're just riding the coattails of X-Men 97.
I mean, that they're going to get you high. I feel like this is going to start leading into the movies now that they're starting the movie. This is going to kind of be like, how every time Marvel movies come out, their comics kind of reflect the movie. I think that's what these guys are getting ready to do.
I wonder if they're going to sync them a little bit more, like give them more info when they write the comics. Like, look, this is where we're going. I mean, that's a big risk because things could get out, but it'd be kind of cool if you could have some of that kind of syncing up of the comics and the movies a little bit. But I mean, I get it. It's already such a big universe. It's hard to do that. Sure. But speaking of X-Men 97, the making of is now streaming on Disney Plus. That is, just go to Marvel's Assembled and you can see the making of all of those Marvel Disney Plus shows. I don't want to disappoint anybody, but Venom: The Last Dance will apparently be the final Venom film. I thought we knew that. I guess they're just.
I can't believe that's the title.
I know, The Last Dance.
I really can't believe that's what we're going with here.
Wasn't it like a movie with
The Last Dance? That's what the Michael Jordan documentary, the Chicago Bulls documentary on Netflix is. The Last Dance.
That was a good documentary.
Oh yeah, it was. But Venom: The Last Dance. Oh boy.
With Julia Stiles.
Save the Last Dance. Yeah. You know what I watched today? There was a Spider-Man trilogy marathon on TV today at work. So I watched Spider-Man 1, 2, and then of course Spider-Man 3. I just forgot how bad emo Peter Parker was with Tobey Maguire and the shit he says. I'm gonna put dirt in your eye, gonna cry, and then just oh my, and then he's just dude, I forgot how bad those scenes were. Holy shit.
Like, emo Peter Parker and emo Anakin Skywalker, they just could have felt a lot of feelings together and listened.
They could have really done some 3 cheers for Sweet Revenge together. I forgot that Elizabeth Banks is in that movie. So is Bryce Dallas Howard. I forgot both of them.
Yeah, she's Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, first of all, I would have ditched Mary Jane for Gwen Stacy in a heartbeat, but that's neither here nor there.
So Hawkeye season 2 is apparently in early development. If they do this again, I really hope it's Christmas time again. That probably would be redundant. Maybe they should do a different holiday, like make it Halloween. Halloween in New York, that could be fun. I don't know.
Hawkeye Lost in New York. Hawkeye 3. It's Christmas Eve and I've only wrapped 2 fucking presents.
I love that. Yes. And I hate you because I hate. So that's all I have.
All right.
Talking about hating people, let's talk about
speaking of hate. Let's roll into the history of the Sith. Now, history of the Sith. The Sith Code.
I need to be.
Let's start with the Sith Code, man, because the Sith live by a code. They are full of anger, hate, lust, revenge. But to them, peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Sith are force wielders.
I'm sorry, you could say that in yoga and it would be like
honestly
empowering. Like it doesn't sound bad.
I would join that church in a heartbeat, dude.
I know. It almost sounds like a freaking prayer through passion.
That's what I'm saying. You're over here chanting like
Christ through all of it. Through Christ, I gain passion and strength. Through Christ,
Vader,
I gain strength and power. Through Christ, I gain power and victory. Through Christ, victory, and Christ breaks my chains.
Through Buddy
Christ. It's just marketing, Buddy Christ.
It is.
Two thumbs up.
Honestly, like that's it. What do the Jedi have? They don't have anything like that. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Don't get a girlfriend or boyfriend.
You better not bang the hottest women in the Senate. The Sith Code over here, like, man, we're gonna kill everybody. We're gonna fuck everybody. Here's our code. Let's get down to business. And the Sith are force wielders who take from the dark side of the Force, while the Jedi pull from the light side. They use their negative emotions, such as hate, anger, sadness, and pain, to become even more powerful. Now, Lauren, why don't you tell us a little bit about when the Sith initially formed, the cult that I would absolutely join if this was real today?
So they joined in about 5000 BBY before the Battle of Yavin, and they were ancient enemies of the Jedi Order. They actually got their name from the species of a planet they ended up on. The species is called Sith, and they're red and they have face tentacles. And like we said before, they were susceptible to using the dark side of the Force. The Sith were established by a rogue Jedi named Agentu Paul. I don't know if these are correct because these were not in the movies and stuff. This is a lot of
this lore comes from the Old Testament, if you will, before Disney bought Star Wars. They've never really expanded on the Sith lore in the High Republic in the old days. In the new Disney era, this all comes from Legends. So this is everything we had in Legends. I don't really know what's canon as far as this, but
I don't even know that Disney does, and I feel like canon keeps changing.
That's what I'm saying. Like they've never really touched upon the old lore really too much. So to us, it's still canon to me. I'm taking this as gospel. And
shout out to Wikipedia where a lot of this info came from. Okay, so Agentu Paul. So he was cast out and exiled into the unknown regions, and he eventually settled on the planet Corbin.
Into the unknown.
where those Sith species were. He was a human Jedi, and he actually studied alchemy and discovered how to create and shape life. However, the Jedi High Council was like, those discoveries are an abomination, and we're going to erase all of that. Which, I mean, but you're seeing them do that kind of stuff now. So, they're playing God. Paul and his followers declared war on the Jedi Order, and this is what began the century-long conflict known as the 100-Year Darkness. Eventually, Paul and the Sith were defeated, and the Empire lived on because all of those adhered to this new. However, the Sith did live on because a lot of his followers still embraced the dark side, and the Jedi were unaware that they did settle on Corbin, and they were just planning their next big strike. Corbin eventually came the planet Moraband.
Once they got more Sith, right? There was more of them.
More than two? Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. Sorry, I'm not a dad. I'm a mom. So it took me a second.
You suck at stand up. Go home.
The dad jokes sometimes take a minute. So the Sith refer to themselves as the dark side because they stay secret and in the dark. Although the Sith were driven off of Coruscant by 5000 BBY, which we were just talking about, the conflict ensued between them and it culminated in the Old Republic's collapse. Undermined by constant fighting and ruined by the last war against the Jedi, the Sith were rendered all but extinct, with the exception of Darth Bane.
I love Darth Bane, dude. He's kind of a badass. He actually is the reason why the Rule of Two was created. So Darth Bane created the Rule of Two, where there was one master and one apprentice. His apprentice was Darth Zana. While the Rule of Two seems, kind of stupid, right? Why wouldn't you have a whole army of Sith? The goal is actually to strengthen the Sith over time. The thought was that if there were more apprentices, the strongest would be held back by the weaker ones. The weaker apprentices could also band together to defeat a powerful master, allowing for a weaker successor to follow. Because if you look at it this way, those in power want to stay in power. So this is kind of their way of maintaining that power, because you have too many, weaker Sith that can band up against the one guy with all the power. Come on, even though whatever, doesn't really make sense to me still, but
all over travels.
It is what it is.
It's like trickle down economics. In theory, sure, it sounds great.
Capitalism works.
In reality, does it work?
It doesn't work that way. That's not how the Force works. Now, under the Rule of Two, the apprentice would challenge their master for the title of Dark Lord. If they succeeded, that then would mean that they had the new Dark Lord, and they would be even stronger than their predecessor. Now, Darth Bane actually got his name because his mother died in childbirth. His father told him he was the bane of his existence.
Terrible.
Trust me, Bane. I've heard that before myself, man. I feel you. He takes on the name Bane when he arrives at the Sith Academy on Korriban. Korriban was the ancient city of the Sith. However, it was abandoned after many wars left it infertile. We already just kind of done that. However, fun fact, Mark Hamill actually voices him in the Clone Wars episode Sacrifice. So Darth Bane is technically canon because the Rule of Two, right? That's canon. We know that much is canon to the new Star Wars timelines, but we don't know much more else than that. So what else did Darth Bane get into?
So Darth Bane survived the Ancient Order's destruction and passed his knowledge onto a single apprentice, who is Darth Zana, which we mentioned, before he was entombed on Korriban. As a result of the Rule of Two, the Sith were all but forgotten, while the Jedi focused their efforts on preserving the new age of peace under the modern Galactic Republic. So for over 1,000 years, the Sith remained dormant until Darth Sidious and Darth Maul in the year 32 BBY in Episode 1. So the Phantom Menace, ironically, the Jedi learned better combat skills to actually fight the Sith, but that also led to more Jedi going dark side.
The Jedi got too high in their own supply because I'm going to cover this in our Cantina hour. Go listen to that. However, they got so complacent, which is why the Sith kind of came back. Personally, what I would love to see in the next trilogy of Star Wars movies that they're making, give me some more of those Sith. Let's get this war going again. Let's enter another 100-year Sith war.
I mean, who doesn't love 100 years war?
I'm telling you.
So Darth Sidious did have a master. Matt, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
He was powerful enough that he could use the Force to influence friends and manipulate people.
You're supposed to say, I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell. And then you go into this. Come on, Lauren.
All right. So, he was able to use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life. So is he Anakin's father? Can we talk about that for a second?
Kind of what everybody thinks. But the timeline wouldn't really make sense, right? Because, no.
Well, I thought at first maybe
no, it would. Oh, wait, no, it would make sense. So that's the running thing, because the big kind of thought is because Palpatine kills Plagueis on the eve, which I'll get to in a minute. We'll go back to that. Actually, I'm going to circle back to that.
He kills him in his sleep.
Yes,
but I mean that's the Rule of Two.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not going into it yet.
No, you're right. Now, okay, Darth Sidious uses this info to manipulate Anakin, causing him to go the dark side by making him have nightmares of Padme dying in childbirth. He then needs him to learn how to save her. However, before taking Darth Vader as an apprentice, which is his next apprentice after Darth Maul, he had Darth Tyrannus, who was Count Dooku.
Now, Tyrannosaurus Rex.
It does. Now, Count Dooku was actually Qui-Gon's master for a long time. He was very Jedi, all that good stuff. So again, another fallen Jedi. It's all very ancestral, with the Jedi and the Sith, right? Asajj Ventress was Dooku's Sith apprentice for a long time before he turned on her. and she and Quinlan Vos find each other. Check out a recent episode on The Dark Disciple that actually kicked off Star Wars Month, where we talk a lot about them. Now, Dooku is then killed by Anakin in episode 3, which is when Anakin becomes Darth Sidious, aka Emperor Palpatine's newest apprentice, where Sidious encourages Anakin to kill Dooku, as this was further pushing Anakin to the dark side.
Dun dun dun. So Sidious and Vader, we've seen this in Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and obviously we just saw this in Tales of the Empire. They start creating Inquisitors, which are a group of dark side Force wielders who hunt down those Jedi that are still remaining, and they're out there looking for Force-sensitive kids, obviously for multiple reasons, as we saw in Bad Batch. They're experimenting on them, they're killing them, they're training them, they're doing apparently whatever the hell they want to with them. Vader helped train them, and many were actually Jedi kids, much like Reva, who we saw in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
So side note on the Night Sisters, they're from Dathomir, which we see in the cartoons. And
Dathomir, get it right. Jeez.
Dathomir. I say Bo-Katan different every time. So
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. Bo. So they were in Ahsoka, and they are Force wielders that seem to lean a bit dark, but they're neither Jedi or Sith. So that is something that, like, not every Force wielder is Jedi or Sith. Many are in between. Obviously, you have Ahsoka, I am no Jedi. And we'll get into, like, Kylo Ren has actually never been a Sith. Nope. So when Darth Sidious and Vader actually died in episode 6, which is for ABY, after the Battle of Yavin, many believe the Sith died with them. However, we do have Palpatine return, but Kylo Ren was never actually a Sith.
Yeah, so I am not... like, he wasn't a Sith, obviously, because he never really fully...
He didn't train. Well, he trained with the Jedi, but then he never had, like, a Sith master.
No, right. So the Sith are, yeah, there's like things that kind of, what does it mean to be a Sith? He never like fully, I guess, embraced it, right? They're devoted to the dark side, driven by their emotions, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But he never really became one, because he never really, like, Snoke wasn't a Sith. Or maybe you don't really know. So he never really was trained and accepted. You never saw his eyes turn yellow, which is the golden thing that they fully accept and embrace the dark side. Kylo very much struggled, with it all.
Though. I feel like that was him going full Sith, full dark side.
Right. But you still have dark side users. You just don't have pure Sith yet in the new Star Wars universe. Like, there's dark side users, sure. Like, there's certain things that classify, like Force lightning, or the red lightsaber where you bleed the kyber crystal and leading into your anger and hate. But Sith is fully accepting the power of Satan into your body and taking.
So, Sith go to church every Sunday, and dark Force wielders just go Christmas and Easter.
Exactly. That's right. You're not real. You just pretending, boy. So some notable Sith, actually, when Darth Sidious died, an emperor, blah, blah, blah. Now, some notable Sith, like we first mentioned, was Darth Bane, who's the legendary Sith Lord who reformed the Sith Order after their defeat roughly 1,000 years ago. Now, Darth Bane rightly recognized that the Sith's tendency towards infighting was their greatest weakness, establishing the rule of two to limit this in Legends. Darth Bane's story was told in a stunning trilogy, actually, by Drew Karpshin. There's some evidence of Darth Bane's canon story, with a throwaway reference suggesting he became the Sith Emperor shortly before the Jedi defeated him. You get a little bit in Clone Wars, so he's actually, since he created the rule of two, they kept him as canon. Now, we also have Darth Maul, who is from Dathomir, and he becomes Palpatine's apprentice. You see him unceremoniously in episode 1, where he gets halved by Obi-Wan, and that's not the end of his story. He comes back in Clone Wars.
And he gets new legs.
But Lieutenant Maul, you ain't got no legs. I got these spider legs. And then they turn to other things. And so the whole thing with the Sith, why they don't necessarily die, it's believed between Anakin and like Maul, is because their hate is fueling them, which that's what's keeping them alive. Like, Anakin's hate is what kept him alive on the sands of Mustafar. I also think that, Padme's life force too. But
I mean, hey, only the good die young. They made a whole song about it. Maybe true. They were talking about the Jedi versus Sith.
A lot of people enter the 27 Club, but so Darth Maul, he kind of trains. He was a Sith. He trains Savage Opress, who's his brother from Dathomir.
I will never get over that name. It's Savage.
Well, how can we make it? What about Savage? Because he's a savage. Well, why don't we just make it exquisite? Fine,
It's like, you know
Savage.
what? I don't shop at Target. I shop at Target.
It's more of like try out this new men's cologne, Savage by Michael
Oh,
Kors.
that's yeah, that's from. Well, so you didn't watch Friends, so whenever I go to make a Friends reference, I go to
That's
stop
true.
myself.
So another very notable Sith that was Malik, Darth Malik. Him and his mentor Darth Revan were originally they were Jedi during the Mandalorian Wars. Revan actually sought to defend the galaxy, which Malik and other Jedi followed suit with him, and thus they ended up destroying the Mandalorian people. There's this big war. They
The people,
defeat
not
them.
Din Djarin.
No. Like the Mandalorians were actually pretty much wiped off the face of the galaxy due to this war at one point.
I feel
So
like
what happens?
Mando being called Mando ruined
It did.
all of that. Yeah.
So before I'll dive more into that with Revan, but the duo wanted more after this. They go beyond space and they find the Starforge, which was corrupted. Starforge is it's deep to go into. It's like this base essentially. It's corrupted. And from there, they fell to the dark side and ruled as Sith until Malik sought to overthrow Revan, where Revan actually cuts his jaw off at one point. It's pretty brutal.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly, which forces him to have like a metal jaw. Dude, it's so rad and gnarly. It's awesome. The Jedi then seek an opportunity to infiltrate their base. Revan gets knocked out. The Jedi take Revan back to Dantooine. The plans are on Dantooine.
That's a very unoriginal name for a planet.
I know. Now they actually rewire his brain, and Malik thinks he's dead at this point. Now, years later, during an epic battle on Starforge, Revan returns, killing all of the Dark Jedi, including Malik himself. So, Revan. Who is Revan? He was actually created in Night of the Old Republic game as the main playable character, born in 3,994 years BBY. He was taken and trained to be a Jedi by Kreia, who would also become Death Treya. Crazy. Rapping over here, with rhymes. We're doing poetry, slam poetry tonight about the Jedi. Revan becomes the Jedi's most promising student and eventually wishes to leave the Jedi. However,
no Jedi's ever wanted to leave. It's so much fun there.
Why don't you guys want to stay? It's just totally like just this big religious cult where you can't have any fun. It's like the Amish. So Cassis Fett wants to expand Mandalore and conquer Outer Rim planets. And from there, Cassis Fett and the whole Mandalorian crew basically commit genocide, right? They commit genocide, all that stuff. Revan calls for Jedi intervention, and his calls were left on deaf ears, not dead ears. So from at that point, Revan and his crusaders went to Cathar and experienced a force vision showing them that the genocide where he picked up an abandoned Mandalorian mask, dons it, swearing it would stay on until all of the Mandalorians were defeated forever, which after a vicious battle, he was named the Supreme Commander. What?
In general of
he was named Supreme Commander in General of the Republic Army. Thus, from that point on, he sacrifices his morals as the war wages on. From there, he discovered Sith artifacts on Malachor and would then plan to massacre the planet's inhabitants of Malachor and use the dark side for his fleet. Yeah, he would purposely put his soldiers in harm's way, thinking that it made them susceptible to the dark side. After the war, him and Malik leave and establish a Sith Academy on Korriban to strengthen his army of millions of fallen Jedi. Yeah. During a duel, he cuts off Malik's jaw like I talked about, after which they were lured into the trap. After destroying Starforge, when he comes back as a Jedi, he marries Bastilla Shan, who actually initially captured him, turning him back into a Jedi, knowing that she had the power to boost power and skills of fleets through the Force using battle mediation. So a little Force skill there. He was then responsible for the return of Mandalorians. He shows up, and there's a lot more that kind of goes into him. There's so much history on Revan that I feel like he deserves his own episode because of the way he was actually the father of the Sith Academy and everything.
So, in doing this, like I had said, I want to do a whole episode on Darth Maul. And that's the thing. It's like the more we go into this, the more we're like, oh, we should deep dive into that character. So I feel like we already have
so hard, dude. Yeah.
May planned out.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if somebody wanted more of this character, like where is a lot of the stuff that he comes from? Is a specific book, specific comic?
So Revan was again created in Knights of the Old Republic, which is probably renowned as the best open world Star Wars game to ever exist. It was an early 2000s game. There was always talk about bringing it back. they haven't. They keep teasing us like, hey, it's in development. We're bringing it back remastered. And then they just don't do it. Fans have been dying, willing to go to the Sith themselves to have
going to the dark side.
no, when I tell you, like, you got to create your own Jedi, you got, or whatever, you got to, it's this open world game about during the High Republic era. Dude, it was so good. It's the best Star Wars game ever created, hands down.
Better than Jedi Fallen Order?
Hands down. This is open. You're an open world Force user. It's amazing.
Well, that's the only one I ever hear about. Like, as somebody who doesn't play video games, like, I'm very much so aware of that game. So that's why I'm like asking about that.
Yeah.
But it could also be because I like Cameron Monaghan. But they sell like
That's fair.
like I only see like Cameron Monaghan, like they sell his lightsaber at Disney. So obviously
again, Disney created the game, like Disney owns it, right? So they have rights and all.
Okay.
Like, that's why, like, that's the character versus Revan, who they haven't confirmed if Revan is canon. Right? Gotcha. Like Darth Bane is, because he created the rule of 2, so they kind of had to, but they haven't really acknowledged, like, a lot of Revan comes from the Legends universe. So you can't really, I don't know, like, maybe now that Acolyte's here, I think we're going to get answers, because now they're diving into the High Republic era, which the High Republic era really leans into a lot of these Sith Jedi wars. So I think we're going to start getting some answers. I'm pretty sure we're going to start getting some answers now.
It's so interesting that, like, we had the sequel trilogy, and then since then they've just keep going further and further back. They're like, oh, we're going to do the Mandalorian, which comes before that. Okay, now we're going to do Bad Batch, which comes even before that. Now they're like going way before even the prequels.
Dude, like, the High Republic era, like, we are, but the High Republic era, that money prints itself. If you just lean into a Jedi and Sith all-out war, come on.
I feel like a shit ton of comics are out there for the High Republic.
Oh, there's a big whole High Republic line going down right now, absolutely, in comic books by Dark Horse. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's still Dark Horse, but yeah, so that's what we're going to be. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do next week yet, but we are going to be dabbling in the High Republic to get ready for the Acolyte, and then that will be the wrap up for our Star Wars month. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more of our prequels, then yeah, catch our Cantina from last week if you didn't catch it live. And then after we finish up Star Wars, we are getting it close to The Boys, which I'm very excited for.
We're going to start The Boys. A lot of good. June is stacked with TV. So be on the lookout there.
And The Lion King.
Our Cantina
30-year anniversary. Right. I can't get over that. I cannot get over that.
30 years, Jesus. We are going to be talking Lion King. We're going to be talking The Boys. Our Cantina hours are probably going to be a lot of Boys recap episodes.
Yes.
So get down with that, man. First and foremost, like, just make sure to like, subscribe, share, follow. That's what we have coming down the pipe. And then before you know it, Lauren, we have 55 days till our cruise, which I'm pretty excited about. We booked like my first official thing here. We're actually about to book, Deadpool Wolverine tickets, where we're all going to get to go see it together in London. So July is going to be a really crazy month too. Lauren's coming here to visit for a couple days this coming week. So be on the lookout on our socials, where we're going to be just hanging out. Like, more than likely, like, we always talk a big game, and then it just turns out we don't get to see each other often. So we all just drink beers and have fun. So that's pretty much what it's going to be, is just sharing beer pictures. But
there was one Valentine's Day. I'm like, there's got to be a picture of me, Matt, Carrie, and Josh together. That'll be cute to post on Valentine's Day. And no, the 4 of us did not.
We'll get it this week. We'll get it this week. We always get distracted because you're just hanging out, lost in the moment.
I'm the worst at I'm great at taking pictures at home of my beers, but I'm the worst at taking pictures out and about. You gotta live in the, you gotta find the balance. Yeah. Live in the moment.
You do. So that's what's coming down, man. Hang out with us. Thank you for hanging out with us this episode in particular. Go support the show. Can't wait to tell you, like, let us know what you think about Sith, what your favorite Sith is, who your favorite Jedi is.
Bad or just misunderstood?
Honestly, I'm kind of down with the Sith just from the get-go, but
well, I mean, I had episode 3 on today, looking at the look of terror on Dooku's face.
It's a trap. Well, yeah. Count Dooku's like, you betrayed me, buddy. The Sith are built on betrayal. What are you? Don't catch up.
But he was also. Yeah. I'm gonna get a shirt that says Dooku was right.
I mean, he did tell Obi-Wan the
entire
plan. And Obi-Wan was like, "Yeah, right, buddy. Yeah, right." And Dooku's like, "I'm literally telling you the truth. Like, what the hell, man?" But it's neither here nor there. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you guys.
Damage is already done.
Next week. The Empire has already fallen. The Republic has fallen. We're all in shambles. Stay tuned.
First Order is strong and hiding in Galaxy's Edge.
Strong.
Hiding on Batuu.
It is. It is true. We'll see you guys next week. May the Force be with you all. Cheers.